Okay, so just while that's up, in the interest of time, I am going to get started. Thank you very much, first of all, everybody, for being here. Greatly appreciate your attendance and your attention, and most of all, your dedication to Toastmasters. I hope you're here to engage and be engaged and learn and contribute, but I'm sure you're also here not only for yourself, but also for your clubs or your areas or your divisions, and mostly just generally for the sake of other Toastmasters. So for all of that, I extend my thanks to you for being here and for everything that you do. Today's idea, the credit for today's idea goes to our district director, Leslie Benfield, who thought it would be a great way to engage people on the contest season that's coming up. Decisions have to be made. They're not always going to be popular, but they still have to be made knowing that we can't please all the people all the time. So we thought this would be a great way to have conversations with our presidents and vice presidents of education and anybody else who wanted to come about what we chose and what the options were. And we added some other interesting material about the contests to go along with it. Our first speaker tonight is Cheryl Bates. Cheryl's been a Toastmaster for 25 years. During these 2.5 decades, she's fulfilled several leadership roles, including Area Director and Division B Director. Having participated on several conference committees, she's most notorious as the energetic conference co-chair for the conference that never happened. Of course, it was the year 2020. Cheryl recently achieved her second Distinguished Toastmaster Award. The first was in the Legacy program, and now through the Pathways program for her second one. With a successful charter of Compass Group Canada Toastmasters, a corporate club she sponsored, she's now a member of 4 Toastmaster clubs. I'm very thankful, Cheryl, that you were able to make the time to come out and help us tonight. Please welcome last year's District 123 contest organizer and chairperson, double DTM, Cheryl Bates.
Thank you all for coming this evening and joining Mark, Leslie, Mary, and I to help you on your contest journey. Aren't contests exciting? Yay! Mary will tell you all about the exciting journey a little bit later. I get the boring stuff first, and then Mary will have all the fun later. That's okay. That's the way the cookie crumbles. I am here to hopefully answer some burning questions on how to organize a contest. And to help, I have a very easy peasy, simple PowerPoint to help you follow along with. And I hope it makes sense. Because when I put it together, it makes sense to me, but sometimes not to others. But let's get started. Slideshow from the beginning. Here we are. Alrighty, here we go. District 123's how to organize a speech contest. And as noted, I was your contest coordinator last year. And last year we did evaluation and international. So this year it's all about table topics and international. But mostly, let's start with table topics. That's me, and this is what we're going to talk about today, the contest schedule, organizing your team, of course, organizing your speakers or your contestants, helpful tips on organizing your judges, the types of preparation material you're going to need. Oh my goodness, tongue twister. Planning the logistics, and executing the contest, how not to lose your head. We don't want to execute you, we want to execute the contest. And let's talk about where you'll find some resources to help you further. Alrighty, do you recognize this handsome dude? I didn't get Mary's picture in advance. So I still have Alexandre Matt. He was our representative for 2022, and he won second place in the world. And we're very proud that for the third year in a row, Mary represented Ontario, and most specifically District 123 as well. Big round of applause for Mary. Yay! She's here tonight to tell us all about it, and I can't wait to hear it. Let's get started and talk about the schedule. Dun, dun, dun. It's already September 20th. Oh, that means we're already in club contest mode. How many of you have already scheduled your contest? Hands up, raise hand, either raise hand or just raise hand. There we go, good stuff, great. You have until October 15th to plan, organize, and execute your club contest, the area contest. And the clubs can choose to hold in person, online, or hybrid. Your choice, it's your club. The area contest will be held online, and that will be coordinated by your area director. That will be from October 16th to November 15th. The division contest, organized by your division director, will be hybrid, November 16th to December 17th. And the winner of all 8 divisions Table Topics contest will have a break. Then they will compete at the district conference to be held in person a little bit later, most likely in April of 2024. And just a side note, the next contest is, of course, the International Speech Contest, and that will be held January 7th, starting January 7th for the clubs, and then in 4-week cycles, just like the Table Topics, leading up to April 1st. Does that make sense? All good? All right, let's organize your team. Who do you need? Well, you need the officials. Contest organizer, sometimes that falls under the VP of Education, but guess what? You can assign somebody that needs a Pathways project. Plan. Everything you do is a project. So it doesn't have to be the VP of Ed. It can be another member in your club organizing this. Of course, you'll need a contest chair, somebody overseeing the actual contest that night, a chief judge, ballot counters, timers, a sergeant at arms, and if you're online, a meeting moderator or a Zoom master. Why a meeting moderator, you might say? Because you're going to need your SAA for a separate function during the Table Topics contest. And it helps if there is a separate meeting moderator or a Zoom master who will help run the technical side, somebody who's very knowledgeable on Zoom, and hopefully somebody that can multitask, spotlighting, maybe clapping, moving people in and out of the break rooms, and that type of thing. And of course, they'll be responsible for enforcing online etiquette. Well, how about your speakers? Of course, you need contestants. Organizing your contestants, of course, canvass well in advance to see who's interested in competing and check their eligibility. Now, for Table Topics, any member in good standing is eligible to compete at Table Topics. And be forewarned that it's renewal season, so they therefore must be a member in good standing all the way up to the district conference. So gather all your forms of eligibility or your speaker profiles, and these can go to the chief judge, or they may even go to the contest chair, but most likely to the chief judge to confirm eligibility. And reiterate to the contestants that any protests will go to the chief judge only. If you're online, it'll be via email. Now, this is a question I get a lot, is how many contestants will move from the club to the area? Know the number of clubs in your area. If you have 4 clubs or less in your area, you will move 2 contestants ahead to the area only. After that, only 1. If you have 5 clubs in your area or more, there will only be 1 contestant. The winner will move on to the area contest. How about your judges? Of course, we're going to need judges to choose the winner of the contest. If you're meeting online, the judges must be able to be technologically savvy, able to send emails or take a text or send photographs to the chief judge. You might even consider having some extra judges just in case of technical issues or if somebody is not able to show. Be sure that all of your judges have their paperwork, well, okay, maybe soft copies of the judges' ballots. The chief judge is also responsible for the counters and the timers. Be sure to gather all of your materials. So the contestants will need eligibility forms and perhaps a contestant profile. The judges need ballots and their eligibility forms. The timers will need their timer record, and the counters will need their ballot counter tally form. And of course, all protests will go to the chief judge. Now, how many of you will be meeting in person? Anybody? Anybody in person? Anybody? Raise hands, a few, maybe, perhaps. Great. Then please be sure to prepare in advance and get all of your forms printed off, even with extra copies. Make sure you have extra copies on hand. The preparation materials you will need is, be sure, like every Toastmaster agenda meeting, prepare to have an agenda, and it could be a separate program. Last year, I provided the clubs or area directors and division directors with a template that they could use for all their contests. Ensure that you have all of the fillable forms. If you're doing it online, be sure you go on to the Toastmasters International website, or I'm sure that District 123 will have a specific link with all the pertinent forms that you will need in a fillable form. It's important that you have a list of contact information. That means email or cell phone number. Be sure that the judge has a list of their judges, counters, and timers. This is important should they need to get in contact with them throughout the contest or prior to the contest. Make sure that the contest chair has a list of the judge as well as the contestants in case they need to get a hold of them. Perhaps they're delayed or they haven't returned their materials on time. All you have to do is create a simple Excel form with all of the details so that everybody will stay connected and informed. How about the planning and the logistics of it? Now, if you're meeting online, of course, TI recommends Zoom, but if you meet on Teams or Google Meets and that's what you're used to, that's great. Be sure that if you're doing your club meeting hybridly, that everything has been tested in advance and you're very comfortable with using that format already. And how many of you remember 3.5 years ago when we actually did meet in person? Be sure that you're organized, the room is organized, the SAA is set up the room perhaps in a lecture style. Make sure that you have a separate meeting room for the judges. There's for the judge and the ballot counters. For table topics, the contestants will get escorted out of the room and only one is brought back into the room at a time. Therefore, there must be a separate room for the contestants. This is where your Sergeant at Arms and your Zoom moderator will come into play during the table topics contest specifically. So there needs to be a breakout room held and monitored by the Sergeant at Arms, where all the contestants will be sequestered until it's their turn. And the meeting moderator, the Zoom host, will look after moving the contestants back and forth from the main room to the breakout room. Be sure that you've got all of your forms ahead of time, and you might even consider having a little practice contest as well, just to be sure that everything works smoothly, because you don't want to be stressing on the day of your contest. You want it to go nice and smooth. Oops, sorry, pushed the wrong button. There you go. Let me try that again. My goodness. Next. Planning. Okay, more planning. Consider holding a briefing for the judges and the contestants ahead of time if you are online. That's the beauty of Zoom. We can have the little pre-meeting ahead of the meeting where the judges can have a chance to ask questions, get all their ballots ahead of time, review the ballot. They can make sure, or the chief judge can make sure that all of the eligibility forms have been handed in. And likewise for the contest chair to hold a meeting in advance for the contestants. Then they can ask questions, how the format will go, make sure they've got all their paperwork in, as well as it's a great time to draw for speaking order. That way the agenda can be confirmed in advance and distributed, and everybody knows what they're doing. So use Zoom. Even if you are hosting your club meeting or club contest in person, you might want to hold those Zoom meetings in advance of as well. An opportunity to work out all the logistics and all the paperwork in advance. And make sure that you're using Zoom, and you can use a separate breakout room or even a separate login Zoom meeting for the ballot counters and the chief judge as well. So work out all your logistics in advance. Ensure all the content, again, make sure all the contestants and all the participants have contact information. And awards. What type of awards will you be doing? Be sure to look up participant certificates. Be sure that you have your award certificates for first place, second place, third place, fourth place, whatever you choose. Usually it's just first to third, depending on your number of contestants. Will you be announcing that immediately after the table topics contest? Will you be having a separate part of the meeting after that? Will you be having announcements? Again, just planning your agenda ahead will make for a smooth contest. Let's execute the contest, not execute the contest convener. All right, in person. Well, in person, there was lots of shuffling going on beforehand, pre-meetings, and where people are being sequestered and so forth. Kind of the same, except on Zoom. As I noted, using breakout rooms or a separate Zoom. Gather the contestants into a breakout room prior to the meeting, just to be sure everybody's in attendance. So if your meeting starts at 7 o'clock, ask the contestants and the judges to zoom in a little early or come early. That way you can have a little bit of a pre-meeting ahead of the contest, just for any last minute questions. Make sure you've got all your documents in order. Everybody's got what they need. Take a big, deep, cleansing breath. Help them relax a little bit before it all gets down to business and ready to start the contest. Likewise with the judges, the chief judge should hold a briefing and the contest chair hold a briefing. If you're meeting online, you may recommend that your videos and audio be off for the contestants. Not everybody likes that. They like to see the audience engagement. It's your choice. The only stipulation is when you get up to the international speech contest, they prefer a blank screen. But your choice at the club. It's your club, your contest, you rule. I do recommend, though, if you are on Zoom, please remind the contestant to turn off their camera and to please mute themselves. I do remember last year that one contestant neglected to do that and started speaking with the people in the room or the other person in the room. And we're supposed to have that 1 minute of silence. So please, if you're a contestant or a contest chair, remind your contestant, turn off your audio, turn off your video. For the timers, it's best to have 2 timers just in case anything goes awry. We know that internet is not foolproof. 1 timer is used to show the lights, and the second timer is usually keeping track in the record of the timing. And it's important that those 2 timers communicate and that they're listening and stopping at the same time. If they text each other, I got 1 minute 51 seconds, I got 1 minute 50 seconds, at least they know they were pretty close and in sync. Ideally, of course, we want them in sync. And only 1 timer will send the report, the record of time, to the chief judge. Continuing on, how is it going to work? As I noted, all of the contestants in the table topics will be sequestered in a breakout room, or if you're in person, in a separate room, so that they can't hear what's going on in the main room. The SAA will move or bring them in person. They'll bring them into the main room, and the contest chair will introduce them and give them a word or phrase. If they're in a breakout room, it's up to the Zoom moderator to bring them into the main room, where then they'll turn on their audio, their video, and the contest chair is responsible for the word or phrase. Remember that the timing will start at the first audible word, or maybe even a hand signal. It could be a hello or a kiss or something to that effect. But that's when the timing starts. Once the contestants have all gone, it is told until all of the ballots have been collected by the chief judge, and they've either left the room or put into their breakout room. Then, if you are holding a contest online, their contestants can all turn on their cameras, the crowd can go wild, and congratulate all of the contestants. Again, you can choose a separate room if you're in person for the judge and the ballot counters, or a breakout room if you're in Zoom, or even another Zoom ID. Once the ballots have been collected and counted, I think that's in my next one, is that the chief judge will email or give the results to the contest chair. So to summarize, we want the judges to have meetings prior to this contest, and also the contestants with the contest chair. The audience will join the contest with video and audio off, but again, it's your choice in the club. The contest chair will start the contest and introduce the chief judge, who will review the basic rules. The contest begins with only the speaker and the timers on camera if you are on Zoom. So you want to be sure that you spotlight the timers so that the contestant clearly sees the timing lights. And once the speeches are completed, the chair can call for the contestants to then turn on their camera after. Of course, once the judge has got all of their ballots. The judges will complete their ballots away from the main room, along with the counters. Only one timer will send the timing record to the chief judge. Any protests are handled by the chief judge. The results that are tabulated will be emailed or given, if you're in person, directly to the contest chair. And the contest chair will announce the results. After they announce the results, of course, everybody can be unmuted. The crowd goes wild, and the contest organizer says, "Phew, I'm so glad that Mark organized this town hall." If you have any burning questions, you can certainly reach out to me, look online, or check Toastmasters International or the district website. Hopefully that answered all of your questions for now. I'm going to turn it back over to Mark Blackburn, your Program Quality Director.
Awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. How to organize a contest start to finish in just over 20 minutes. Fantastic job. Thank you very, very much. Again, if anybody does have any questions, you can always reach out to me. This will be available on the District 123 YouTube channel within a couple of days of today. And you can always go back and refer to it there. Or you can use the #1 Toastmasters tool when it comes to anything Toastmasters, our friend Google. Thank you very much, Cheryl. Greatly appreciate it. And a heartfelt thank you. If you're going to stick around, we will have some time for some question and answers at the end of the town hall session after our discussion on the other topics. So if you're willing to stick around and maybe field some questions afterward, if anybody has any, that would be great. Next up, we're going to move to number 2 on our agenda, and that is a question and answer period with our reigning District 123 champion. Mary Pomeroy Brown discovered at a young age that she had a passion for storytelling and public speaking. She joined Toastmasters 7 years ago on the advice of a dear friend who was a spokesman for a little company called IBM. The next day, she found herself at a club, and she's never looked back. She now considers Toastmasters just part of her life. After being a Toastmaster for 3 years, she ventured into the contest territory, always trying to learn from the best, taking away any nuggets from other speakers to incorporate into her own speeches. She set a goal for herself 2 years ago to be on the international stage. And this year, she made it. It was such a rewarding experience and a real game changer for her. She's excited to share her experiences with all of you tonight. Please put your hands together, even unmute yourself, and make a nice, warm, loud welcome for our District 123 2003 International Speech Contest Champion and 2023 International World Championship of Public Speaking semifinalist, Mary Pomeroy Brown.
Thank you all.
Thank you for being here, Mary, and being willing to share all of your experience and the journey with all of us here tonight.
And thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and I'm eager to share all of the experiences I've had, and it's been a fantastic ride for sure.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I do have a number of questions that people submitted with their registration. So I am going to start with those. Okay. And then depending on how we're doing for time at the end, if people have questions from the audience, we'll take those if there's the time.
Perfect.
I've put the questions in a little bit of an order. So hopefully there's kind of a flow to it, start to beginning. And sometimes there may be 2 questions that are similar, but I'll ask them both just to give the opportunity for whoever asked them to recognize that their question was there as well.
Okay, perfect.
The question in the registration was, what question would you like to ask reigning District 123 International Speech Contest Champion and 2023 World Championship of Public Speaking semifinalist Mary Pomeroy Brown? The first question we're going to start with this evening: who chooses the topic?
Who chooses the topic for the international contest? I assume that's what you mean, but thank you for that question. And that's a question I've been asked several times. And when I tell people that are not Toastmasters that I was in the contest, that's one of the first questions they ask. And you choose the topic. You use your life experience and you come up with your own topic and your own speech. So yeah, Toastmasters International does not come up with the topic or your club or your district. It's totally your topic to speak about.
And how did you come up with the topic of your speech that you used in the semifinals?
Well, we all have life experiences. All of us, every one of us has so many varied experiences in our lives. So I just go to that. I go to things that have happened in my past and what I can learn from that. In regard to the speech that I just completed and that I won every level up to district and then I went to semifinals with, that was a subject that I thought about this for like 5 years because that story was true. And I do have a friend who was raised by blind parents. And every time I spoke to her, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to write a speech about this. Like it was such a profound lesson for me when she told her story. And I had to incorporate that and share that. I thought it was valuable to share. And it was a life lesson for all of her friends when she finally opened up and told us her life story. And it changed our perspective of her. And it made me think about the many assumptions that we make every day in our lives when we just don't know the truth. We don't know the backstory, the real story. So that really happened to me. It was my girlfriend, and I just wanted to share her story. I thought it was worth a share for sure.
That's wonderful. And I think you answered the next question, which is the topic of your speech. How much is real and how much is made up?
My speech is totally 95% real. Of course, I ad-lib it a little bit because, I had to make it a little bit humorous. I had to do certain things. But the story itself, 100%, both stories that I used in my speech were absolutely 100% real.
Wonderful. And I'm glad that you mentioned that you did ad-lib a little bit or here and there to make it a better speech.
Right.
Me, myself, I presented last year District 60 for their evaluation contest. And when I gave my speech to my mother in preparation for that, giving it to the district conference, my mom said, but that's not how it happened. I'm like, I know, but it's not a history lesson. It's a speech. So sometimes you do have to tweak little things here and there to make it a better speech.
Right. And to make it more relatable to the audience, because this particular experience was my experience, but now I'm sharing it with you. So how can I make it relatable to you? So you have to change things up just a tad, just to make it more profound and more relatable. Yeah.
Great. The next question, I'm going to put two questions together here. What steps did you take to prepare for the contest? And what advice would you give others doing the same? And the second question is, can you please outline the process from winning District 123 to being on the stage in Nassau?
Okay. All right. The first question was, what did I do to prepare for the contest? Practice, practice, practice. And I was probably one of the first people to use the UD platform that Toastmasters has. I was using that back at the club level. So I was using that and I was practicing with that. And I had a coach, I had a speaking coach that was helping me along the journey. I videoed myself time and time because I have an awful habit, and I even did it at the semifinals. And after watching myself, I saw it and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm doing it again. I have this habit of looking down. And Roger Caesar always told me, he said, Mary, when you're looking down, it's like you're thinking. But when you're thinking, you should be looking up. So, that's a little crutch for me. I tend to look down here and there. So by videotaping yourself, you can recognize that and hopefully fix it. So that's what I do. I practice, I videotape myself. I tell my speech to anyone and everyone who would listen. I would try and get in front of people, and I would get feedback, and I would, at all my clubs, I would practice and get feedback and that's what I did. That's really what I did. And also a big thing I did, I envisioned it. A lot of people say, look in the mirror and watch yourself. I didn't do that. Dr. Charlie Cartwright, I don't know if anyone knows him, but anyway, he told me, he said, you have to envision it. You have to envision them calling your name. You have to say it to yourself. You have to believe it. And I incorporated that into my everyday routine. I envisioned them calling my name. I envisioned me winning. I envisioned the applause. I let it all sink in, and it happened. And there it was. Oh, and the second question, I'm sorry, I forget what the process from winning district to being on the international stage. The process was a little confusing at the beginning because I have never been on the international stage. So I didn't know what the process was. So I know I did speak to Leslie a few times. I spoke to Diane Payton Sutherland a few times. I spoke to anybody I could to get the direction. What do I need to do? What's the next step? Where do I go? Who do I talk to? Who do I email? And because Toastmasters International was giving me information, and then I'd go to Leslie or I'd go to Diane and I'd say, okay, what do I do with this? Who do I speak to? And so it's just being communicative and just asking the questions. Don't ever be afraid to ask the questions, because I didn't know. And I was a little confused even when I got to Nassau, Bahamas. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know a lot of people. I only knew my core group. So I didn't know a lot of people. I didn't know who was who and who to ask. So I kind of, snuggled up to Leslie and Mark and Heather and whoever else I knew that was there. But that's what you have to do. You have to, be around the people that can help you navigate and answer your questions, for sure. I hope that helps.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Maybe you can outline the process of the contest, because even before this year, I wasn't aware of it, but being at the conference last year, the District 123 conference, I learned that they actually videotaped your district speech.
Yes.
And then sent that on. So maybe explain that process for people who aren't aware of what happens after a conference.
And again, I was like everyone else. I didn't know, but now I had won, and so I made it. I had to know. But yes, through the process, through talking to people, I found Leslie had told me, as a matter of fact, that now he or his group or the district had sent my speech off to Toastmasters International to be judged for the semifinals. So then I got it, and he said I would hear probably early July. And then I think it was like almost early July. I think it was towards the end of June when I got the phone call from the email from Toastmasters International that I had made it to the semifinals. So that was the process for, I had to do nothing. I just had to sit back and wait for the email to tell me if I made it or if I didn't. And I was delighted to say that I made it. And as a matter of fact, I have a little story about that, because at the day that I found out, I was downtown with my sister, and we decided to just sit down at Dundas Square. And for anybody that knows Toronto, Dundas Square is crazy. There was a lot of different characters there. So we were just sitting and people watching, and all of a sudden I got the email, And I jumped up from my chair and I was dancing around Dundas Square. If there were cameras, I'm on camera somewhere. And I was dancing around. I made it. I made it. And my poor sister was sitting in the other chair. And she was like, what? What's happening? What's going on? She had no clue what was happening. And but the end result was I fit right in on Dundas Square because I was going crazy. So that was a little joke that myself and my sister will share. So it was funny. Yes.
Wonderful.
And then the next process, I guess, once I got to Bahamas and I realized the lay of the land, there was 28 contestants. They divided us into 4 groups of 7, and I was in group 2. So each group of 7 had their individual semifinal contests. And from that, they chose 2 contestants to move forward to the top 8 that would have been competing the following day or 2 days later at the on the final stage. So that was how the process worked.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for explaining that for everybody. How does it feel to compete on the world stage?
Oh my goodness, what a great question. It was amazing. It was inspirational. It was motivating. I can't say enough about it. I was just to be there, and I've had many conversations while I was there with Darren LaCroix from Stage Time University and Verity Price. So I connected, I talked to a lot of people, and just to be there and compete and be on that stage. And like Darren LaCroix said to me, Mary, you're already a winner. I don't need the trophy. He said, if you want a trophy, go buy one. They're cheap, right? But just to be there, you're already a winner. And it was the most motivating, inspirational thing I have ever done up to this point in my life. And so much so that I am just determined to get there again and set another goal for myself.
Oh, that's fantastic. I can tell you, just being there, the energy just in the room, the energy from the people sitting in the seats was just phenomenal. It's something like I've never experienced in Toastmasters and hardly anywhere else in my life. So I can only imagine what it was like for you being 6 feet higher than everybody else looking out over it. I had to sit on my hands when you were up talking because I was afraid I was going to jump up and start getting excited. So
right. And the other thing, everyone that was there, you're right, what you just said. It's like all of these Toastmasters that come together for the international conference. It's like I was really impressed at the dedication. Everyone was totally invested. And I was really inspired by all that. And, not just the contest, but the whole conference put all together. And so that was very inspirational as well, like you just said, for sure.
Yeah. How do you control your energy on the day of the contest? How do you manage? Maybe a bigger question is, how do you manage yourself on the day of the contest?
Well, with the help of Roger Caesar and Alexander Matt. That's what I did this time. Because, once I won district, both of them jumped on to be my coaches and to help me. And I brought my husband along to the conference as well. So we were there 3 days early. So for the first 3 days, all I did was practice. We would find a quiet spot on the ground somewhere, and we would go there, and I would practice, and he would time me, and we'd do all of that. And oh my goodness, Mark, I just forgot the question. Well, where was I going with this? What did you ask me again? I'm sorry.
Question was, how do you control your energy on the day of?
So for the first 3 days, I was great. I had my speech down. I knew it. I was good. I had high energy. And the day of the contest, I woke up like 6:30 in the morning. And I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, I had butterflies. All of a sudden, I was nervous. All of a sudden, I was full of anxiety. And I said to my husband, I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like I thought I was great. I thought I was like ready to take this. And, but all of a sudden I found my body seizing up. So the first thing I did, I text Roger Caesar and I text Alexander Met, and I said, help, I need a pep talk. And so without missing a beat, within a half hour, both of them had called me and they walked me through it and they helped calm me down. And then I said to my husband, I said, I need to go by myself. So I went out on the grounds by myself. I found a quiet little corner on the resort and I stayed there for an hour and a half. I did a little workout for myself. I practiced my speech and then I put it away and I said, okay, I'm ready. And that was it. I just psyched myself up. I listened to Roger and I listened to Alex. I went by myself. I meditated. I worked out. I did some jumping jacks, whatever I had to do to get my energy back up. And then I put my speech away and I never looked at it again. And that was it. That's what I did. And it worked.
Fantastic. Great story. We have about 2 minutes left here. So I'm going to ask for some rapid fire answers to a couple of questions that I really think would be great to hear about.
Okay.
Question is, what would you say to a new member, a new Toastmaster, to motivate them to enter a speech contest?
Well, I would tell them that any new experience is worth it. The learning that you will extract from any of these experiences, be it a contest, be it sitting on the executive, whatever it is, just take on any experience that you can, because the learning that you will take away is phenomenal and will last you your whole lifetime and will help you be successful in whatever your goals are.
Okay, and a question that's a little bit related to that. How can we encourage the most advanced speakers in our club without overshadowing or scaring away beginners?
How can we encourage the most? Well, you know, the new people that are joining the clubs, and I mean, we were all new members at one point, and we looked to the more seasoned speakers so we could learn. So I think we can still do both. I still think we can encourage the seasoned speakers to continue with what they're doing, and to help encourage and motivate the newer members to come along and jump in and do the same, because we are a very supportive, it is a very supportive environment, and we're all there to help each other. So I don't think we should overshadow anyone. I think we should keep encouraging this more senior members, and while motivating the other members to come along as well.
Great, fantastic perspective. 2 more questions. What's the most challenging or best lessons you've learned in your contest journey?
Listen, learn, watch, take away what you can. Always look at yourself as a student. I'm a teacher by nature, and I was a teacher for several years, but I'm more than a teacher. I'm a student. And yeah, so take away what you can. All of these senior or more seasoned Toastmasters that you just talked about, I listened to them. I was in awe of them. I took away so many nuggets from each and every one. And then to go to the international conference and the caliber of speakers that were there, I was just, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And I could take away and extract so many things from them that now I can go forward and utilize in my speeches, in whatever platform I do in the future. I can take some of that with me. So yeah, just pay attention, listen, take what you can from each and every person, because everybody brings something different to the table.
Great answer. I think that's a huge piece of irony that you went to the World Championship of Public Speaking and gave a World Championship public speech, and the biggest lesson you learned was to listen. Exactly the opposite of speaking.
Yeah.
What a great piece of advice. One final question to wrap things up here. It is 4 simple words strung together: in person or hybrid?
In person. As a speaker, and I'm moving forward with a speaking platform, and I need an audience. I need an audience to feed off of. I need an audience to connect with. And And while there's nothing wrong with online, because that's the new era we're in, and it's the way of the world nowadays. However, I still, as a speaker, doing a presentation, I prefer to be in front of a live audience and be able to see the laughs or see the smiles, see the connection, feel the connection. And I think and that's what I'm all about. That's my opinion, and I strongly need my audience for sure.
Fantastic. I'd like to send a heartfelt thank you for being here and sharing your unique experiences with all of us as you went to the highest level of the speech competition world. And thank you again for being here to answer all of our questions. I'd also like to thank everybody who registered and sent in their questions for Mary and contributed to this wonderful opportunity that we had to listen and gain some of her experiences. Once again, Mary, thank you very much for being here.
Can I thank you so much for having me. And I just want to impart one little phrase that I learned from the contest, and it will stay with me forever. And it was said by Mark Brown, and I'll never forget it. He said, to all speakers out there and to everybody that's on this platform right now, stop writing speeches and start telling experiences. And I love that. When he said that, it just hit me. And I'm like, I love that. And that's what I'm going to use going forward, to start telling experiences.
Awesome. Wonderful advice. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to move on to the next portion of our open house on contests, and that is the town hall portion, where we get to have a discussion amongst ourselves. Our district director, Leslie Benfield, is here in the house. Our club growth director, Heather Drakes, was in the house, and I'm assuming is still here as well. And we would love to be able to answer your questions regarding the contests in District 123 for 2023-2024. I would like to say that there may be some strong opinions. People are going to have different experiences that they're drawing upon. That being said, we are going to keep this respectful. Everybody's allowed to have an opinion. We're not allowed to get personal, and it's going to stay to the Toastmasters' values of integrity and respect. For anybody who doesn't know, anybody who isn't aware, District 123 has a district council meeting on Friday. In that district council meeting, there will be a vote. And the district council meeting is made up of your trio, some district leaders, your division directors, area directors, club presidents, and club VPEs in the district. And that vote will be on the type of contests, being the method of contests for this year. Toastmasters International has mandated to us as a district that all district level contests will be of the same type. That is to say, all area contests will be of the same format. All division area or division level contests will be of the same format, and all district level contests will be of the same format. The choices are in-person, hybrid, or online. We realize that there are many clubs out there that meet in person. We realize there are many clubs out there that have a hybrid setup. And we know there are lots of clubs out there that still meet online strictly. No matter what we choose, we're not going to be able to meet everybody's wants and needs, and we understand that. The district has decided for area contests to hold them online, for division contests to hold them in a hybrid format, and that the district level contests at the spring conference in 2024 will be an in-person contest. These decisions were run by the district executive committee. That is the area directors, division directors, and district leaders a couple of weeks ago. And the district executive committee, or DEC, unanimously voted to recommend to the district council that they accept these formats. Just to clarify, clubs can use any format that they want. Clubs have no restrictions in how they run their contests, as long as they're held in accordance with the Toastmaster practices. The area contests are being recommended to be online, the division hybrid, and the district in person. This fall, we're holding the Table Topics contest. In the spring, we'll be holding the international contest. We decided to hold a fall contest in order to give people practice to prepare for the international contest. It gives the clubs, the area directors, the division directors, the opportunity to get one contest under their belt before the international comes in the spring. And by then, we're all hoping that you're all old pros at running contests. Toastmasters mandates that district contests are all held at the conference. That's why in the fall, the division level is the top level until the contest, when the division champions will face off for the district conference, at the district conference for the district level competition. The reason we chose hybrid for the division level is because division directors already have experience running contests. That's number one. Number two, the hybrid contest is the most difficult to run because essentially you're running two contests. You're running an in-person contest and you're running an online contest at the same time. Those contests do take extra resources, but because we have 8 divisions in District 123, we decided that the divisions were able to handle using those resources, and those resources were available to the divisions to be able to successfully put that kind of contest on. The area contests were decided to be online for very similar reasons and taking similar criteria into account. Oftentimes, the area directors, this is the first time they're putting on a contest. A lot of them don't have the experience of organizing and managing a contest, especially of this scope. So we didn't want to burden them with having the challenges of putting on a hybrid contest. Another consideration was the fact that we've been on Zoom for 3.5 years. Most people, if not everybody, is at least familiar with Zoom and familiar with giving speeches online. Maybe they're not proficient, maybe they're not professionals, but most people are at least familiar with it. And it's a way of getting a lot of people together at one place at one time. We also worried about the resources if we decided to do a hybrid contest at the area level. Not all clubs are equipped. Not areas are equipped for holding hybrid meetings. You have to arrange a place. You have to arrange the technology. You have to arrange the people. All of these things could be challenges for a first-time contest holder. And for all of these reasons together, that went into our decision to make the area contests online. Before I open up the floor for general discussion or conversation, Leslie, do you have any input?
Oh, most certainly. So the idea of having the contests in a sort of a graduated manner is so to give an easy option, an easy flow from your club level to the area and then to the division. Because as you notice and Mark mentioned also, it becomes a little more difficult, a little more tricky, a lot more things can go wrong if you're, when you get to the hybrid level. But for the club, you can actually, for instance, if your members are accustomed to the sort of like the in-person format of the meeting, you can still keep a lot of that format, even though it's in a sort of like an online, or if it's hybrid, you can still keep the same sort of format using a camera. So it's a way of, you just have to understand how to sort of execute that, and we can help you with some of the tips also in terms of when we get to the hybrid level. We know, and we've done a survey of the entire district. We know that when we get to the division contest, almost every single division has a club that's doing hybrid in a really good level. So what would happen there is the division directors themselves would nominate one of the clubs to host their division contest. Online, like Mark said, most of us are familiar with the Zoom platform. It's very easy to find someone who can execute that. And that way we can have a more or less a level platform for all across the districts, because you don't want to have, for instance, Division B having all the technology and the experience in the hybrid, and then not a division, on the other hand, they're struggling with the technology. So we will also do an assessment, across the divisions to make sure they all have fairly good technology when it comes to, moving into hybrid and those type of scenarios. Of course, at the end, when you get to the conference, everyone's gonna be in the same room, and I think that's a fascinating opportunity for us to have, the contestants live in person. If you look at what's been happening over the last several years at the international level, 2 years ago when Alexander competed, there were a few people that were online. But this year, Mary was in the room. I think there was one person in her contest that was online. And I mean, overall, there were probably about maybe four for the entire semifinals that I've seen. So there's a lot, and you can actually, the experience when you're in the room, I was sitting there in Nashville, I was sitting there in Nassau, it's a whole difference in terms of the experience that the contestants are having when you're actually in the room and you're competing. People who've been in Toastmasters for a long time, like myself, it's you cannot really replicate that in an online or a hybrid environment.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you very much for those words. We have about 10 minutes left in the session, and I'd like to be able to give people the opportunity to ask questions or make comments. We will call you out, so please use the raise hand feature if you're able to on your Zoom. Otherwise, we may not be able to see if it's a physically raised hand. If you use the raised hand feature, you'll go up to the top of the list. Zoom Masters, I do see Wayne Tuttle has his physical hand up, so maybe we could put him up next after Cynthia. Cynthia, hi.
Hi, Mark. Hi, everyone. I have two questions. The first one is going to be very relevant for a lot of people. As you know, dues are coming up and the deadline is September 30th. So technically, clubs will not be in good standing. Some clubs will not be in good standing come October 1st. This year, I know last year it was different, but this year, are clubs able to participate and their contestants if they are not in good standing up until October 15th? And I can give you the second question if you'd like straight away as well.
Sure, go with the second one.
Okay, and the second one is if you can tell, especially the first timers here, the nomination process, if they only have one person or in the case, two people that want to participate and the club does not want to run a contest.
Okay, absolutely. I'll be happy to answer both of those. Thank you very much, Cynthia. In reverse order, but really my answer is going to be the same to both questions. I recently talked to the division directors and we had a chat about the upcoming contest season, and I gave them 3 points. The third point, the last one, was book extra. Book extra people, book extra time, book extra resources, have extra supplies on hand. Cheryl covered all that. The second one was start early. Don't wait till the last minute because you can't throw these things together. They do take time to organize. But my number one suggestion, and this was number one for a reason, it's 3 words. Read the rulebook. The rulebook is downloadable from Toastmasters International. Up in the top right corner, there's a search feature. Just type in rulebook and you'll get the Toastmasters International rulebook. Everything you need to know about the contests is in that rulebook. So in answer to your question, the nomination process is one of 2 things. First of all, if a club does not want to run a contest, they can nominate 1 or 2 people, depending on how many clubs are in the area in good standing. They can nominate 1 or 2 people to contest at the area contest. There doesn't have to be a process other than to notify the area director of the people that the club would like to send forward. There is a form which is specified in the rulebook as well that you would send to the area director that gives the name and contact information of the people contesting. The second choice is to hold a contest. If the club holds a contest, the results of that contest are binding. Even if there's only 1 contestant, and that person goes through the process of a contest as a sole contestant at the club level, if they are disqualified, they cannot move forward to the area level. If they compete, even 1 person, and they're not disqualified, then obviously they get to move on to the area level. And the second question was about people in good standing, I believe, Cynthia?
Clubs and people in good standing, yes, for reduce.
Wonderful, thank you. Your club cannot send a representative if the club is not in good standing before the area contest. The contestant must be in good standing, the contestant must have their dues paid, and the club must have at least 8 members, including this member, to go forward and represent the club. And I'll also throw in here that you can only represent 1 club and contest in 1 area contest as a contestant. You have to choose which, if you're in multiple clubs, you have to choose which club you're going to represent at an area division level if you get that far as a contestant. Did that answer both of your questions, Cynthia?
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Mr. Wayne Tuttle, how are you tonight?
I'm doing terrific. Thanks very much. And thank you for taking my question. Mine is also a 2-part question. I just wanted to clarify at the district level this year. I'm not sure if I heard you correctly. It is only in person, no hybrid. And if that's the case, does it come down to the cost? And if the individual who is going on from division to district, whose responsibility is it if they are out of town to pay for travel?
Yeah, if you want, I can take that question. It's always the responsibility of the contestant to travel. I mean, we've been doing contests for many, many years. The reason for having the district or our conference in person is because it gives more opportunity to mimic what you're going to be doing at the next level. If you're the winner of District 123 international speech contest or the whichever speech contest, it gives you that opportunity to have that in-person experience for all the event.
I can tell you, Wayne, when I first started Toastmasters 5 years ago, my big awakening moment was the first division contest that I went to. I got invited to be a functionary, a ballot counter. I showed up in this hall, and for me, it was a mind-blowing experience. And to me, it's never been replicated online. I love my online people. There are certainly benefits to an online format, but there's nothing like doing it in person. I can tell
Oh,
you
I
that
agree.
I
I agree 100%, but at this point, there are still clubs out there who are, whether they're international or across Canada or across Ontario, it has a tendency of leaving people out. Because
Yeah.
last year it was hybrid. So those people who lived in, let's say, Saskatchewan or Australia, they were able to compete. So now if they win at the division, they're no longer able to move on. So that's it.
Yeah, so at the club level, I can help answer this one. At the club level, you can do like a little fundraiser if you want to, send your candidate. You can have, a contest. You can do all kinds of stuff, right? If that's something you want. I mean, districts, even if the person gets the opportunity to go on to international, like Mary got the opportunity to go represent District 123, her club can, hold fundraiser, things like that. So there's nothing that excludes that. It's just that in terms of the development of the program, right? We are looking ahead and we're looking for the best possible experience, not just for the organizers, but also for the contestants. And if you look worldwide, what's happening, it's the same thing. Most districts, they're moving in the same direction. We're just analyzing and trying to, make the right decision, not just for the organizer, just for the event. It's a lot easier. Trust me, it's a lot easier to hold an online contest like we did last year, record it, and then just put it on a server and display it back at the conference. That's dead easy. But in terms of having an experience that's worth, the $250 or whatever Mark is going to charge you to go to the conference, also for you as the contestant, for you to get the best experience and immerse yourself in that contest environment. That's what we should be looking at in terms of the planning and the organizing, everything.
Yeah, I understand that the international contest this year that's being held in California,
That's correct.
there will be no option for hybrid.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much, Wayne, for that discussion. I'd also just like to throw out there, it wasn't directly asked by Wayne, but I would also like to throw out there that Toastmasters International prohibits us from charging a contestant in the contest. So we can't make you buy a ticket to come into the conference as a contestant. So there is no cost per se to compete. There may be a cost to get there, a travel cost if you choose to stay overnight, but TI prohibits us from charging an entrance fee to the person that's actually competing. Are there any other questions using the raise hand feature regarding our contest this year?
I have one. Sorry, is the actual questions that are the types of questions in the table topic contest found in this rule book, or it's another resource?
There is no resource as far as I'm aware about the types of questions or specific questions. It's up to the contest organizer to come up with the table topic question.
Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes you can just use a single word. I've seen in contests, you have a single word like imitation or something like that, and then the contestants, they have to create a speech for that word.
It's almost like a verbal response to a picture.
That's correct.
Is there any other questions regarding the contests this year in District 123? Okay, so I will wrap it up with a couple of words just to close things out. Firstly, I'd like to remind everybody that Vice President Education and presidents of clubs, as well as area directors, division directors, and the senior leadership of the district do have a district council meeting this Friday night with a 7 p.m. start, I believe it is. So please make sure you register and tune into that meeting to have your say in the District 123 business, including your say on the contests. I'd also like to stress that the recording link for this session today will be available on the YouTube channel for District 123. I will send that link out to everybody by email from your registration here tonight. But I also encourage you, because it will be posted on the District 123 Facebook site. So please, if you do not follow District 123 on Facebook, please undertake to do so. Go in, follow them, because that is how you will get a lot of information about our district from your trio, your district director, your club growth director, your program quality director, as well as our administration manager, our webmaster. They all use the Facebook to get information out. So please follow District 123 Facebook page. And finally, just like to let everybody know that we have a tentative date for our conference. Since we're talking about contests, it's tentatively scheduled for May 3rd to 5th. So please pencil that into your books for now. A confirmation will come out once everything is signed and finalized, but please keep that in mind, keep that in your calendar, the weekend of May 3rd to 5th for the 2014 District 123 Spring Conference. I'd like to thank Leslie Benfield for being here and providing his insights today as our district director. I'd like to thank Mary Pomeroy Brown for sharing her wisdom gained from being our District 123 champion and 2023 international semifinalist, and Cheryl Bates for providing her wisdom on how to organize a contest. At 8:20, I will adjourn the town hall, and thank you very much, everybody, for being here, and thank you for your participation. Have a great night.
Night. Thank
You guys.
you.
Thank you. Good night.
When I was a young child, my mama told me, son, don't ever let them make you afraid and never let them see you run. So to